One of the big reasons I wanted to move back to Scotland and open a restaurant is having worked all over the world. It really is genuinely, especially for meat and fish, it's one of the best places in the world. It genuinely is. Shellfish and game. So it tends to start with that.
I'm Kevin Rivers, and my friend Carlos Mirin and I are two American expats who spend their days either eating or waiting to eat in our adopted home of Edinburgh. We are on a 10-episode journey to learn the stories behind some of the bars, restaurants, and coffee shops that make up this city's world-class food scene. This is Eating and Waiting to Eat.
This is super exciting. Months and months and months in the making.
Yeah, probably way too many months.
There's a lot of preparation, a lot of training that had to go before we could really do this podcast.
Heavily researched.
Yeah.
And now we're here. Very first episode of Eating and Waiting to Eat.
And I couldn't be more excited, man.
This is very exciting. This first season, we have 10 episodes lined up. We're learning the stories of our favorite places in the city, all different types of cuisines, all different price points. Edinburgh's food scene punches so far above its weight. There's so much great food here. It's really fun to witness and be a part of. So I'm really excited to share a little behind the scenes look.
Completely. It's such a fun project to share our love and our excitement and our geekiness about the scene with everybody.
All right, well, should we get started?
Let's start.
Okay, so first episode, who do we got? Who are we talking to?
We're talking to my first love in the city. We're talking to Elizabeth Elliott and Sharif Gergis, the duo behind the amazing Pan-Asian restaurant, Mirin. I'm so excited that they agreed to not only be on the podcast, but to be our first episode.
So why don't you tell me a little bit about why you picked them to go first?
So Mirin's really gone through a transformation and evolution over a couple of years that it's been open. It originally started off as a little ramen bar on Leith Walk called Gulp. And as you know, I am a ramen head of the biggest proportion. It is my favorite food in the world. So when we were moving to Edinburgh, I did all the research into all the ramen restaurants. And the number one on everyone's list was this little place called Gulp. You know, sometimes you like hear about a restaurant, you've built it up too much that it just doesn't live to what it's become in your head.
Yeah.
And Gulp and now Mirin surpassed every expectation. We'll hear a lot about the transformation into Mirin. They took a lot of that same DNA that made Gulp very special and turned it into one of the greatest Asian-inspired restaurants in the UK. Forget Edinburgh. Like
Completely.
Wild.
And no formal training.
No formal training.
No formal training at all. How long did it take you to grieve the loss of Gulp and start going to Mirin? Was there a period where you were like, I'm not ready to go?
No, I'm such a fanboy of these guys. I went the day it transitioned. I went by that morning and they were painting the sign. And then we went that night and the paint had not dried. I miss Gulp, but it's not really gone. I just go to Mirin. It's the same venue. It's the same vibe. The DNA is the same. They elevated and they changed the menu. And you can see, I mean, you can still see the ramen origins of the place throughout the dishes.
Can.
But truly, its metamorphosis into Mirin has just elevated absolutely everything.
That's amazing. So one thing that we're going to do in every episode is talk through the things that are really important for listeners to know as they learn about the restaurant, what we're going to call the vital stats of the restaurant. The type of food, the size of the place, the vibe of the restaurant. Do you need a reservation? You know, these sorts of things. So why don't you walk us through the vital stats about Mirin?
So as noted, Mirin started life as Gulp. Gulp opened in 2020, and then it transitioned into Mirin, which is what we know the restaurant as now, in 2023. They've always been in the same venue, number 9 Albert Place on Leith Walk. The vibe in there is unlike any restaurant in Edinburgh. It's hip, it's small, intimate, very relaxed, very cool. More often than not, there's like 90s hip hop playing. It just hits every single note. It really does feel like you're in a friend's indie record store. If people could see us right now, we're both smiling so much. It really is a joy to be in there, and you got to make a reservation because it is small and intimate. And what are we ordering? Like, if you go there, what are we ordering, Kev?
One of everything?
One of it, literally.
So
any dumpling that they have, order two.
You
Any
have to
dumpling.
order all the dumplings.
All the dumplings.
The way they do it is there's a handful of dumplings and then there's a selection of noodles. I mean, the hand-ripped noodles, every time.
Every time.
Without those. You have the vegetarian chili crunch noodles, which may be my wife's favorite dish she's ever eaten. But then you also need to try all the other stuff. The menu changes with regularity, so you're getting a bunch of different things. But throughout the rest of the menu, it's hyper seasonal, hyper local. Everything is from the UK. They usually have some kind of burger-esque thing that's always killer. The thing that I love about Mirin
Go on.
is that it's all meant to be shared, especially with the menu changing all the time. It means that you can try so much of what's on the menu. So you wind up over ordering because you just need to try everything.
That is something about Mirin. I'm just going to over order.
And it's amazing.
Amazing.
You over order, you overeat.
Yeah.
You don't eat for the next day or two.
And that's wonderful. But if I'm ordering hand-ripped noodles, let's just get two.
Okay, we really got to get into this episode because otherwise we could just talk about them all day.
Let's actually turn it over to them.
Well, yeah, why don't we turn it over to them now and hear their story?
Amazing. Hit it. Welcome, guys.
How we doing?
How are you both?
Very well. Thanks for having us.
Thank you guys for agreeing to be interviewed. We're so honored to have you.
Likewise, pleasure. This is our first podcast, so
Oh yeah,
Is it really?
we're excited. Yeah.
Have you never done any?
ours too.
Well, it's true. This is our first podcast, but have you guys ever been on a? We've never been on a podcast before.
No, I was invited once, and I don't know why I didn't go for it. But we listened to an awful lot of podcasts.
Right. Yeah.
Perfect.
One of my favorite things about Mirin, literally, is your music taste. When I walk in and it's like 90s hip hop, oh, I'm home.
That's good to know.
Who runs the playlist?
Spotify,
Yeah.
an algorithm.
If I'm in, I'll generally take control of that. But
And then
if
when
I'm
you're not in, it runs off my one. So it's one of those ones you're like picking a song. But we seem to always end up with a huge amount of wet leg Fontaines DC. We're getting a bit fed up with it. So we're
Right.
trying to like throw something really obscure in there
Right.
to see if we can mash it up. But
I
it's
feel like I've been in there sometimes where you have the late 90s, early 2000s rock, like you get some Rage Against the Machine
there's
and
quite a
stuff
lot
going.
of that sort of stuff
Yeah.
going on for sure. Yeah.
I always enjoy that.
Yeah, we
that
like our
like-
Biggie. Our
Is that like your youth?
I've got a pretty wide taste in music, to be honest, but I feel like that's what works quite well in that little environment. And you don't want to put anything too divisive on, you know. But
Definitely.
So we would love to know your guys' origin story. Like, how did you meet? How did
Where'd
all
you
of this?
come from?
Yeah, exactly. Where do you come from? Like, how does all of this come about?
so you want to go right back to the beginning? Like,
Yeah,
let's
let's take
go.
it to the start.
So I've got quite a strange, well, unusual background. My dad's Egyptian, mum's Irish. I was born just outside of Newcastle.
Right.
I then went to live in Saudi Arabia till I was 10. My parents went out there to work. Then we moved to Scotland, where I went through school and ended up going to university in Aberdeen. And then during that time, kind of got obsessed with snowboarding and cooking and ended up just kind of following a path to the French Alps, where I'd started off kind of doing some private chefing and ski seasons and things like that. And that's where we met, in a little place called Marybelle, both working for the same company. I was one of the chefs and Ellie was resort manager.
host. I wasn't that elevated at that point.
I thought you were maybe not.
No, I was resort host. And then
Just got obsessed with it and ended up doing, 16 years out in ski seasons?
16 years.
17, yeah. From
Yeah.
we met in like 2007, 2008. And then finally left in 2019.
Wow.
But to be fair, we used to like 2 seasons, and then like during a couple of years we did like back to back, like Southern Hemisphere, Northern Hemisphere. So I went down to Australia for one of the years and then New Zealand for another one. And then we got a little bit too pasty. So we decided to take a summer. Then in between, because obviously you don't really earn very much money working in ski resorts as a kind of seasonaire, they call it. So we'd sort of, in the summer, slave away on boats. So we used to work on hotel barges.
Oh, wow.
And the canals and Fres. You think that sounds glamorous. It is not. These things, yours is more exciting. Chiefy was on the Orient Express. I was on one up in Burgundy. The thing moves at 4 kilometers an hour. Like, I'm not joking. This thing's so slow. You're in the middle of nowhere. Very boring. Yours was more exciting because his used to go through like Avignon. Like he was on the Rhone. So it was like, really beautiful and a bit more interesting on your weekends. But yeah, we used to do that in the summers to kind of bulk up the savings so we could also do a bit of traveling either side. But yeah, met in the Alps. I'm just from Dublin. Boring old story.
Absolutely
From
not.
Dublin, went to uni in Dublin, and then I wanted to get out of Dublin for a while, so I did a ski season, and it led to
16 ski seasons.
many.
So do you guys get the ski slope here in Edinburgh a lot?
Oh, we've not been, have we?
No, you ruin your thumbs on those things. So you talking about the dry one up at
Yeah,
Hill End?
yeah, yeah.
No.
No, I used to go up to the left and Glencoe and stuff back
cool.
a few years ago, but no.
Yeah.
But you talked about a little bit about getting interested in snowboarding and cooking.
Yeah.
Were you always interested in
Yeah.
cooking?
I mean, I've always been obsessed with food. I
Right.
mean, just as far back as I can remember, my earliest memories are food. And I never really thought I'd be a chef until a little bit later on. Didn't really have a clue what I wanted to be, really. I don't know where it came from. I got really into cooking. Up at uni, this is back in the day of kind of Like there was all these cooking programs on TV, and I would, instead of going to lectures, I would just spend all day watching them. And it seems quite strange, but I've watched hours and hours and hours of that stuff. And that's as close to a cooking background as I got, honestly. So I started off with that, and would be cooking for my friends, and it just kind of escalated from there.
And did you have any more formal training? Like, did you go to culinary school?
No,
or,
nothing like that at all. No, absolutely not. No, spent too much time snowboarding, really. Yeah, having fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so like I said, I'd got into snowboarding and cooking at uni, and I just kind of wanted a way to do both of those things together. And a ski season was the natural thing to do. It's a pretty interesting way of learning as well, because you're just kind of free to do whatever you want. You learn by, by trial and error, and different group of people in every week. And
no, we were also working in some high-end places. Like the first company was High Life. They don't exist anymore, but they were really high-end Irish chalet company. You're talking about people with serious money going out there and dropping. At the time, it would have been well over £1,000 per person, if not more, to stay there. So they'd expect a really high level. So these would be people who'd be regularly going out for really nice meals in Dublin or wherever they live in Ireland. So the standard was set by the customer. So you did have to cook to quite a high level off your own bat and off your experience from YouTube.
a lot of early blagging, and then it took hold, and you just learned from there, really.
So how did you fall in love with Asian food?
Tricky one, that. I mean, the only experience of Asian food I'd had until that point was a little Chinese takeaway called the Mayflower in Glen Rothes, where I'd grown up, which is not exactly the heights of Asian cuisine. But that's all I had, and I suppose that's where it started.
Is it still there?
It's still there, believe it or not. Yeah,
I mean, we should go. I feel like
we
should all go.
Road
we
trip.
should make it a trip.
don't want to go there.
It's just a good classic Scottish Chinese takeaway. It's got all the dirty gear on there,
Right.
But so I didn't have any particular background in that, to be honest with you. And then once I was working out in France, this is a few years later, I wanted to open a little pop-up restaurant. And out there, it's all kind of meat and cheese, and it's very kind of regional cuisine. There's very little variation in the stuff the restaurants serve. You go there to eat that particular region's food, sort of thing. So not a lot of choice for locals. And so I decided to do something a little bit different. I decided to open a ramen shop as a pop-up. It was my first experience of that, but it went really well. It was something different. It was full all the time. And it just really took off. We did well out of it. So when the time came to move back here, it was just pre-COVID and everything was a little bit uncertain and all the rest of it. So we thought, you know what, we've got something that we knew worked somewhere else. So let's take a little bit of the risk out of this and just bring the same concept to Edinburgh. And that's where Gulp was born. And it all did really well. So, until it didn't, of course. But
I have to say that Gulp was really the first restaurant I fell in love with in the city. I love ramen, and I am an amateur of the most amateurist ramen chefs. Like,
Don't be so humble.
I know he's been
Carlos
humble.
actually makes an incredible bowl of ramen.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Okay, so talk to us about Gulp. We would love to kind of hear the concept behind Gulp, the story behind the height of when it was Gulp, and then to kind of transition to what happened and why is it Mirin?
Cool. Yeah, so like you say, it did really well on paper. It was full all the time. The reviews were great, all that sort of stuff. But it was a classic case of growing a little bit too quickly. Essentially, there's a huge amount of labor in ramen. People don't really realize. I mean, I know you know, but the amount of work that you have to do. Because at the time, we were making everything from scratch and making all of our own noodles, 3 different broths that we were doing, all the tares, all that sort of stuff. It's just an intense amount of work. And at the end of that, people expect it to be cheap. And that works in Japan, where you've got a real kind of ramen culture, where you might have a little stall with one person working in there, 10 seats. People eat ramen 2-3 times a week. They get in there, they smash the bowl, they get out. Kind of makes sense. It can be cheap.
It's a faster food.
It can
more
be cheap
of it.
under those circumstances. But
Timing was everything as well, because we sort of opened it in the middle of the pandemic. Like November 2020 is when we opened the doors. And initially there were social distancing, there were loads of hour restrictions. We were only open for 6 weeks until we got shut down, and we were shut down for months and months on end. So by the time we reopened and we were able to introduce a bit more seating, people had to have reservations, they had to have bookings, you had to have contact tests and trace, all this kind of stuff in place. So it wasn't conducive to how a ramen shop should be run.
Right.
A ramen shop, you don't book a table, you just come in, you eat, slurp, go.
Yeah.
People were coming expecting to spend an hour there, then a bit longer, because we were also doing the little small plates that Mirin is now. They wanted it to be more of a meal. I genuinely saw quite a few people during that time spend 1 hour eating a bowl of ramen. So, you know, we were running a separate production kitchen where we were making all our own noodles, which is incredibly expensive. And
How
then
many
all our
staff did we have?
broths.
Must have had about
We had a
12 staff
huge amount of
members at the
staff.
time.
Yeah, we have 2 full-time in this production unit. I was spending every day running backwards and forwards, bringing food from the unit to the restaurant, whilst also working every single shift we were open. It was super intense. And it was also during a period of time, because of everything that was going on globally, that the cost of flour, the cost of everything was just so exponentially high that the numbers just weren't crunching. We were just full all the time. But it wasn't something had to change.
Yeah. If we hadn't taken the production unit, that would have made a big difference. But these days, we use a guy called Omar, who's got a company called Komugi Noodles, makes some absolutely amazing ramen noodles.
He's got like the actual Yamato. We also needed such volumes of broth that we were making a big boiling pan. We couldn't have done that out of the restaurant because initially we were, but we couldn't keep up with the volume. So it just wasn't possible to do that level of operation out of that tiny premises.
When you're making that amount of broth as well in a little restaurant, you can imagine on a hot summer's day, it's not the best for the customers. So
Absolutely.
For ramen to work, really, you need to get the seats to staff ratio correct. That's the first thing, I think. And you need to have a venue that has a large prep space downstairs where you can get everything made and not disturb the customers and pay 1 rent rather than 2, you know? I think that way it can work. It's still tricky because it's just really difficult to charge what you need to charge for ramen.
Yeah.
But if you, like I say, if you got it all right, I think it still could work. And we do have some plans, hopefully, to get a ramen shop up and going again in the future. But
Oh, yeah? Exciting.
hopefully, yeah, that's the idea. We've still
It's
got
all
we
there.
spent all our bounce back load on the kit. So
And we still have it in storage. It's just, it really is like finding the location, the premises where you can roll this big. I mean, it's huge. It must be, I don't know the exact weight of it, but it's a huge, big.
200
They use them in
litre
like
thing.
hospitals and prisons and
Yeah.
stuff, like to make masses of food.
Yeah.
And it's really the only way to do it because you just need such huge volumes of it.
Well, my son Theo will be of age to work. So as soon as you guys are ready to open that up, I volunteer him as tribute. Like, you guys can take
Anytime.
he would be delighted.
That's brilliant. Yeah,
You
we'd
would-
love to have him.
He would be delighted. But that's interesting that you guys are thinking about that because obviously Mirin is doing well.
Yeah, Mirin's doing well for sure. Need a bigger boat.
But like, is the plan to move to bigger premises?
Yes, it is. We kind
It
of
is ideally, yeah. We've just had to be quite risk averse. Like we've really had everything thrown at us
Yeah.
up until now, and it is very frustrating being in such a tiny premises because it comes with so many different challenges. It really does, and it means that our growth is restricted.
Totally.
I feel like, yeah, Mirin is small and it's tight, but it kind of is what makes it special too. Like there's something to the energy of everybody sitting on top of each other and like,
On logs.
yeah, and it just creates such a wonderful eating environment.
That's cool to hear, man. Yeah. We get the likes of you guys who totally get it and stuff, and that's brilliant. But as we become a little bit more widely known, we start to get other people coming who just don't, they turn up and they've read about us in some kind of newspaper or some sort of big sort of article, and they turn up and they just can't believe where they are. They're just like, what the hell's this? So we've got this core group of locals who get it, and it's amazing. Like the people that come, some of them once a week, some maybe twice a month, whatever, and they know what to expect. They get the value of it and they really enjoy it, and that's really cool. But you're limited up to a certain point. I think we'll always keep that venue and do something in it. But I think if you want to try and get to the next level of cooking and stuff, I think people need somewhere to hang their coats and seats that they're not going to fall
it
off.
took me a while before I put hooks up on the walls. But then this certain type of new customer that we got, because there is a lot of recognition that GV's cooking has been acknowledged now. And that really is, even though it's graffiti on the walls and you're sitting on logs, it's really a high level of cooking. Yeah. I think it's amazing. But I can say that because I don't do it. It's not my food. But yeah, you've got that certain person coming in and they are a little bit amazed as to where they are. They sit down, they're not particularly comfortable. They're a bit grumpy often until they've eaten their first plate of food, and then everything changes.
Oh, I bet.
And also, there's only so much you can expect people to spend when they go to a place like that, you know? Yeah. So we get some amazing tables. We also get some absolute horrible tables, and they come in and they spend like still 15 quid each, and they've booked an hour and a half slot on a Saturday night on a peak time, and I'm crying in the kitchen because that can't sustain your business, and that is why Gulp had to change. So we still do get some of that, but we still do get people who come in and spend an awful lot of money, but I think that they should be sitting somewhere a little bit more comfortable and a bit nicer.
The entrepreneur in me understands the economics component of it and why you want to, but I don't always agree with Kevin, but I agree with him 100%. I think the restaurant itself is this wonderful mixture of this very cool little space that's special, and the food, it's so elevated, and it's just that contrast. I want to talk about the R&D here in a second because we were there last week.
I think so.
I think so.
Last Monday, wasn't it?
Yeah, last Monday. And we were there geeking out about every single dish. We're regulars, and there was a lot of new things that I think last month were not on the menu. So I'd love to hear how you guys approach R&D and like, what's your process? Because it changes all the time, and every dish is just...
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Cheers, guys. Well, for me, I'm very produce driven, so it tends to start with a product. Usually a piece of meat or fish. Got loads of absolutely amazing suppliers. We're so lucky. It's one of the big reasons I wanted to move back to Scotland and open a restaurant is having worked all over the world. It really is genuinely, especially for meat and fish, it's one of the best places in the world. It genuinely is. Shellfish and game. So it tends to start with that. I'll start with a delicious product and then I'll work backwards from there, trying to get elements of sweetness and saltiness and acidity and heat and umami, and just we'll work with whatever vegetables are in season. And it just starts pretty organically like that. Trying these days as much as I possibly can to strip things back. I do have a tendency to maybe put one too many things on there every now and again. But in terms of R&D, honestly, it's pretty shoot from the hip cooking. We don't do an awful lot of planning out of the dishes ahead of time or whatever. A supplier will get in touch with me and tell me they've got something cool. Like at the moment, we're using these absolutely amazing suckling pigs from a company called Alternative Meats down in Shropshire. So it's just a case of we get the pig in, we prep it however we want to prep it, we taste it, and then we start thinking what's going to go with this. It's quite fatty. It's got this really glassy, crispy skin. So we're kind of at the tail end of the rhubarb season. So I figured, let's get some rhubarb on there. It's really nice and tart and acidic. That'll cut through the fat. And then we're serving that with a tonkatsu broth. Again, just play up to that kind of richness. And yeah, so I just kind of work through it like that, really, and just go by what's going to work best with whatever product I'm looking to showcase and just try not to hide it in any way, trying not to outdo the main product. And yeah, very often I'll put a dish on and change it 2 days later and then change it again, and probably should be a little bit more calculated. And maybe if we had a bigger restaurant and more time, I'd certainly like to kind of have a little area where we could like research things before we put them on the menu and all the rest of it. But I think people quite appreciate that. Like you say, every time you come in, there'll be something different on the menu. And yeah, we just play around like that, really.
And you got how many people working there? 3?
Yeah, there's 3 chefs in at any time. Well, two chefs and a KP in at any time.
Right.
Like I say, you get people with the right attitude.
Right.
And we're so lucky to retain our staff for a long time. We've only lost, 2 staff members since Gulp, basically. Almost.
Yeah, like most of our guys have been with us for about years now.
Yeah. So
even out front, John's like 3.5. Yeah, they're
John
all
must be
like,
more than that.
He'll be 4 in October.
Yeah.
Real quick, I wanted to hear how you guys approach your vegetarian dishes. My wife, as a vegetarian, really appreciates how like thoughtful you are in your vegetarian dishes, and they never seem like this was a meat dish that we just took the meat away.
That's awesome to hear. Much the same way we approach any other dish, to tell you the truth. I certainly wouldn't just put something on just for the sake of having a vegetarian dish on. So yeah, we just start with a vegetable that's in season and go through the same routine as we do for the other stuff. Just figure out what's going to work with that. Always like trying to balance, like I said, sweetness, saltiness, umami, heat, acidity. So that kind of frames everything. But essentially we treat vegetables like meat or meat like vegetables, however you want to look at it. It just has to be delicious at the end of the day. I'm glad to hear that. I often feel like we need to have more vegetarian dishes on,
One thing I will say though is, I know from my point of view, and I begged Chiefy to take it off the menu. It was a particular vegetarian dish that was just taking far too long to do. And when we were at Gulp, the veggie ramen used to take so long to do because there were so many different veg in there. They all had to be like treated and cooked in a different way to service, to order. Whereas the meat stuff is generally a lot faster. So it is really nice to hear that, because it generally takes a little bit longer for those guys to prep, produce and serve in a very high-paced environment, those dishes. So that is really good to know.
And if I'm being honest, it does come less naturally to me. I'm not a vegetarian myself. I am quite meat and fish driven, to be honest with you. So it's not as easy for me to put a good vegetarian dish as it is for me to put a good meat or fish dish on.
I'm sure too, just because you don't have the umami from the meat often to balance it out.
That's it. Like I said, we start with the product. I mean, if you start with a piece of suckling pig or a piece of foie gras or a piece of Wagyu beef, it's a lot easier to make a delicious dish out of it than if you start with a piece of broccoli, But At the end of the day, the way we get there is the same. You
Yeah.
know, it's just,
Yeah.
it is a little bit more difficult. You have to do a bit more work.
And what's the division of labor between the two of you behind the scenes when you guys run a restaurant like this together?
Honestly, I look after the food. Ellie does everything else.
Right.
It's not the most even split.
Well, no, because the food is varying. Like, it depends on the week. Say last week, for example, you did 3 services, but 3 services means that Sharif is in there from like 11 in the morning till, you know, he's not getting home till midnight. They're super big, hefty days. Then when he's not there, he's menu planning at home or from the pub doing his orders or whatever it is. You never really, because it's your own business, you never really shut down. And then obviously I do service. I don't do as many as I used to. So I do roughly 3 a week, and then the rest of it's working from home. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty even split, I would say, to be fair, because there are big hours in the kitchen, and it's not something you can. I mean, you own your own business; you can never switch off from it.
Absolutely.
But then you get to be your own boss.
Yeah, and most people show up and they see the joyful faces in the front, and they order their food, and it comes out, and it's delicious. And I feel like people don't appreciate everything that goes into being able to pull something off like that every single night.
Yeah, it's a lot of work for sure. I think people are starting to realize it, but yeah, it's an awful lot of work for sure.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, you
Easier ways to make a living, that's for sure.
No, 100%. And I think you tend to forget, exactly as you guys have all been saying, that it's also a business.
Yeah.
Yes, it's food and people go there to have great hand-ripped noodles and some dumplings, but there's an entire infrastructure that you have to manage in terms of HR and accounting and invoicing. There's just such a hefty administration component to restaurants.
Absolutely,
And that most people don't ever think about.
No.
They
you're right.
don't, and they don't appreciate that you're a little bit bonkers to do it, especially on the level that we do it in such a small place. And it's like what makes Leith particularly special in Edinburgh at the moment, I think, is because it is run by an awful lot of young or independent couples like ourselves, with independent businesses. They're not making any money.
Yeah.
Like, they've been through the most terrible 5 years. The government are doing absolutely nothing to make it easier. There should be some breaks on VAT food sales. That's not going to happen because it's one of the biggest contributors to the economy.
It's just an incredibly difficult time at the moment. I think the profit margin for the average restaurant is somewhere between 5 and 10% at the moment. I think at 8's about the average. Some people don't really realise that. Let's say you got a table of 2, they spend 100 quid, the restaurant gets 8 quid on average.
If no equipment breaks down.
Yeah, well, that's it. That's
Which happens all the time.
That's if everything goes well. And as you said before, everything doesn't go well all the time. You know, like a piece of machinery breaks that costs you a couple of grand. It takes a long time to make that back. So basically what I'm getting at is it's a tough time.
It is exceptionally hard. So if you are wanting to make money out of a business, it's not the business to go into. So you'll find that most of these people are doing it because they're passionate. They love it. Because there are good days and there are bad days, you know, but the good days are really good.
Yeah.
And unless you're, I don't know, a surgeon or an obstetrician and you've had this very successful, complicated birth that worked out, whatever, you do get these incredible highs.
Yeah.
And that is what makes it worthwhile.
Yeah, I found, before I lived in Edinburgh, many lives ago, I worked in like live music, and I feel like so often it was every day is kind of the same, and it was almost the days where everything broke and you figured out how to get it done and you all came together. That really felt like those were the best days, right?
Yeah,
it really
absolutely.
felt like we accomplished something, and you look back and you say, oh yeah, we did it today.
Yeah. No, 100%. I'd agree with that.
As a customer and a regular, I know that there's a lot of behind the scenes things that are happening. You would never get that. I think that like
That's good to know.
you sit in that restaurant.
That's actually
know.
that's what I was wondering. Like, how do you approach that? Because you can have a day where everything's falling apart, but like you said, 5 o'clock, you need to be on. The kitchen needs to be firing on all cylinders. You need to have the smile and be welcoming and everything like that.
Because you're only as good as your last performance. It's like you put yourself out there in the public. It's like any sort of artist or musician or whatever it is. Once you've put yourself there in a public forum, that's it. Like, you cannot mess it up. It's got to be as close to perfect every time as possible. Things do go wrong, but then, as you say, you get the biggest kick out of fixing them.
Exactly.
Things go wrong every day. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Things are constantly going wrong, but you just have to put a brave face on and, like you say, not let the customer realize, and you always get through it at the end. And
Definitely.
But okay, so as we're wrapping up, we have a series of wrap-up questions. All right. So question number 1. What's the hidden gem on the Mirin menu right now that
Monkfish.
you guys Whoa, no, you guys wish. I know you gave us a
you've been
monkfish.
selling the monkfish.
Yeah, you've been selling. Did you just order a bunch of monkfish and you're like
keeping the fish guys busy.
Yeah.
You guys have backstock.
Is that? But is that the question? Is what's the hidden gem on the Mirin menu that you wish more people ordered? Is it the monkfish?
No.
I think enough people order that. We could barely keep up, can we?
At the moment, the sea trout,
Okay, yeah.
Sea trout.
because it changes all the time. You see, I would say the sea trout.
You say the sea trout?
It's one of the changeables.
Yeah. So the sea trout is cured in. It's actually the same recipe as the blackened cod from Nobu.
Yeah.
That's just an absolute classic. If anyone hasn't just done that at home, I really suggest you check out that marinade and just cook that at home because it's so easy. And my God, the results are incredible. So it's just equal quantities of mirin, sake, and white miso. In America, they use black cod or sablefish, which you don't get here, but it works great with any sort of slightly fatty fish. So for us, like sea trout works perfectly. Just cure it in that for a couple of days.
Days.
Yeah.
Correct.
Between 24 to 48 hours. After that, it starts to get a little bit too cured, but 48 so that is kind of the perfect window.
Right.
Then we just cook that very simply top that with a little bit of a smashed cucumber, some nori puff potato, and then just a little matcha vinegar, like matcha vinegar powder. So it's quite clean, like I say, quite acidic, quite rich and umami from all the like miso and the mirin, and really light as well. So that I suppose that is a bit of a hidden gem as well. Yeah.
Amazing. I'm so hungry right now.
I know, right?
I know. I can't wait. I'm going for dinner on Saturday. My cousin's over. I never go for dinner there, and I'm excited.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
What about you?
Yeah, I think the thing I'm most excited about at the moment actually is the suckling pig. I've been playing around with that for a few weeks now, trying to get that right. So what we do is we just slow cook the whole pig. We take up one pig a week, usually about sort of 12 kilos, something like that. We just slow cook that really, really slowly overnight, and then just remove all the bones and take all the big muscles, remove the skin, and we lay the skin down flat in a big kind of gastro tray. Then we take all the smaller muscles and all the belly fat. We blend that with a little bit of kaffir lime, a little bit of Chinese five spice, kind of the same sort of mixes that go into our well-bored dumplings, something similar along those lines. And then we place the large muscles back onto the skin, fill in all the gaps with the seasoned fat and meat, press that overnight, cut it into little squares, and you've got that really slow-cooked skin on the top, which when you pan fry just goes really glassy. And then, like I said, we serve that with the rhubarb and the tonkotsu. That's one of the more expensive menus on the item at the moment, just because there's so much work that goes involved in it. And obviously, when you're buying any young animal, you're paying the same as you'd pay for an old animal because of the luxury of having that. So it's a little more difficult to get your money back on it. So I think maybe the price of that sort of puts people off a little bit, but I'd say that's one not to miss at the moment.
Just hearing you talk about the process and days at a time, but again, just one of those things that a casual diner just isn't going to appreciate how much goes into putting that small plate in front of them.
Yeah, I think you're right. We're really lucky. We have a whole host of good chefs from around Edinburgh that come in regularly as well. And they get it. And we've got the guys like yourselves who get it, who are foodies and all the rest of it. We don't expect everyone to know exactly what's gone into it. At the end of the day, they're just there to enjoy themselves. There is a lot of work. And going back to what you were saying originally, maybe being that tiny little restaurant and all the rest of it maybe that kind of helps us to exceed expectations a little bit with the food, because maybe you wouldn't necessarily expect.
Yeah, it's not what you expect when you walk in.
Yeah, so maybe that works in our favor to some extent.
It's what I expect when I walk in.
Well, now.
I'm like, okay. This isn't glassy enough. Take it back.
All right, so the next question, I can tell you in advance, my answer is Mirin. And it sounds like, based on your plans with your friends that are coming to town, your answer is Mirin, but I'm going to push you to answer something different. When a friend comes to visit Edinburgh, what restaurant are you taking them to?
All right. So there's a couple. First and foremost, without a shadow of a doubt, Finn and Grape. I think just our good friends Stuart's restaurant up in Collington. It's by far the most underrated restaurant in Edinburgh, in my opinion. It's in a tricky spot. It's it's way up in Collington. It's quite tricky to get to, all the rest of it. Not a huge amount of kind of local trade and all the rest of it, but my God, the food in there is just incredible. It's just so creative. You talk about vegetarian dishes, like he doesn't cook a huge amount of vegetarian dishes, but what that guy does with vegetables is just incredible. You should really check that out. Like a lot of 50-50 dishes, so you have some beautiful cured fish with some amazing seasonal vegetable, and just present it in a way that you haven't seen anywhere, and just the flavors just work. So I'd always make a point of taking friends to Finn and Grape.
That's like one of the tops on my places.
Honestly, you've got to check it out. It's just such a great restaurant. It's a little bit same sort of style in us in that way. You can have a huge roasted turbot, something really simple and delicious like that, but you can also have these little small plates that are incredibly intricate and like just beautiful food. So that would be for dinner. Then Ardfern. I'd definitely go to Ardfern.
All the Roberta's places are great, though. And they're so different. They're brilliant. Like, they really are.
Yeah,
we
Sean and
desperately
Roberta.
need to get. We've been going to Ardfern loads because we live really close by as well. But we really need to get to Eleanor again soon. It's been too long.
Most
I've
amazing
heard-
Sunday lunches
So
and
good.
breakfast.
I've heard Ardfern Sunday roast is.
Oh god, yeah. I mean, it's unrivaled.
spectacular.
Yeah.
But just even if you want just a casual kind of not blow the budget, you know, they do really nice wines by the glasses. You don't have to commit to. You can have as much or as little as possible. It's just really tasty and friendly and relaxed.
Yeah.
There's so many places opening at the moment as well. Stockbridge Eating House is amazing. I don't know if you've checked that place out yet.
There's
Obviously
a
the
new
Parma
one
Stone.
down by the shore. I don't know if you've managed to get there yet. Berry Fish.
Oh
No.
god, yeah.
He's one of the nicest
Gotta write
guys
that one
you'll
down.
ever meet. And he's been doing events for years and years and years. And he had like a production unit just across the road from us when we had ours.
One of the
So we've
nicest
known him a
guys you'll
few
ever meet.
years. I mean, yeah, it was part of Mimi's Bakehouse down at the
Yeah,
shore.
yeah.
It's the most amazing location. Him and his husband Robin have done the most incredible job of the interior design and decoration of it, and the food is fantastic. And again, it's relaxed.
Yeah.
You don't need to break the bank. You can go.
Yeah.
You can have a very accessible but delicious meal.
Fabulous.
Always got to get a sandwich at Albi's as well when you're hungover.
Albi's is
Mate staying over usually leads to a few beers. So a big sandwich from Albi's usually hits the spot.
Fabulous.
I could keep going, but
We're spoiled. We really are
We're-
spoiled.
no, we-
so
the-
much.
I mean, this podcast came out because we felt the same way. Like we just felt like we love to eat, and that's our entire friendship is based on eating. You know,
eating and waiting to eat.
we
Yeah, I
eat
can
and
re-
wait to eat.
Literally the
Like,
name of the
like,
podcast. That's all we ever
That's
do.
all we ever do. And this entire podcast came about because we just felt like we're so lucky. None of us were born in the city, but we made the city home.
Absolutely,
And
yeah.
one of the things that, at least for me, and I'm sure it's the same for Kev, like what makes Edinburgh special and home is the food and drink. It's just, I really do think it's unrivaled. Like, I just love it. And the fact that you can walk everywhere, basically, it's just, it's just such an
It is
amazing,
pretty
and this,
special.
to us, we're not chefs, but we geek out about food. Kev is an amazing, like, I can't wait for his taco
thank
place.
you, man.
I know. You gave me such props about ramen. I was like, wait till you have Kev's tacos.
Oh,
Like,
yeah?
literally, like,
Nice.
truly amazing. I say,
I
Kev's
think you guys
taqueria.
need to come and do a kitchen takeover
Yeah,
one night.
well, I mean, don't tempt
Carlos
me.
and Kevin and Mirin.
Carlos has been working
Yeah,
on
I
a
have.
ramen pop-up.
I mean, Kev's been my sous the entire time, and we've done these ramen kitchens in the house.
Nice.
And the two of you are like, I'm not quite ready. I mean, I would love you guys to come over and give me notes because
Oh,
I'm
sounds
ready.
amazing.
But I'm not quite ready for the takeover. But one day, on a Wednesday, I'll take over Mirin, and then we can do.
We'll do it.
We'll do
Sounds-
it. All right. Last two questions. Taking it back to ramen for a second, as resident ramen heads, you're about to have your last bowl of ramen. What do you order, and from where?
Oh, that's a tricky one.
Carlos's.
Yeah, go.
Even though we
I
haven't
mean,
tried
you
it
haven't
yet.
even tried it. Trust me. Yeah.
Oh man, the name escapes me now. It's driving me mental. Maybe you'll be able to help me with this. It's like one of the most iconic Tokyo ramen shops. He does like a sukumen.
Okay.
It's a really, really thick broth. He's quite an eccentric character. I wish I could remember the name of the place right now, but he's got these big, thick, incredibly elastic noodles. Like he showed one of the real tests for like noodles is you pull them and you see how long they stretch before they break, kind of thing, for that chewiness. And yeah, he's just got this absolutely insane broth with kind of anything you can think. Absolutely no rules goes. Just like kind of the same as what we were doing. Not a traditional broth, but it just comes out. It's just this thick, like rich, like fish and meat based broth. And so it's a sukumen style. So you got your noodles on the side and you dip them in and slurp them. So if I could remember the name of that place, that's where I would go. But it's it's just escaping me at the moment, annoyingly.
That sounds delicious.
Oh, I'll have to show it to
Yeah,
you.
right.
Yeah.
I already answered.
Oh, you go. Carlos. All right.
just
Well,
waiting for my
touched. I'm touched.
invite.
Yeah, I'm fine. All right. I call that a future truth. Like you haven't had it yet, but in the future it will be true.
So I think last question we've got for you is between rice, bread, and pasta. You can only have one for the rest of your life. What are you picking?
Rice,
Rice. Okay.
straight away. I grew up eating rice every day.
That surprises me because you're like a noodle.
Yeah,
you're a
no,
noodle guy.
absolutely. I know that is
I
a big
thought for
that is
sure
a big
you were
call.
gonna be the pasta.
I can't imagine a life without rice. It just wouldn't happen. Don't get me wrong. I'd be very, very upset to never eat noodles again as well. But if you're going to put a gun to my head and make me choose, I'd have to have rice. Did you include potatoes in this?
I was going to say.
Can I tell you what?
We're gonna
tell you what Ali would choose.
Let's do this again. Let's do this again. Let's take it from the top. Let's take it from the top. All right.
We now have the answer for
All right,
me.
last question. Between rice, bread, pasta, and potatoes. What do you pick?
I would be potatoes, but after that, in saying that, you didn't include that in the first question. So I would stick with rice.
You rice as well?
Rice?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
you just feel better from rice. You don't feel as like weighed
It's interesting
down.
because you don't see much rice on Mirin's menu.
Yeah, that's true. We don't. The reason for that really is it's just a little bit too satiating and filling. We're a small plates restaurant and everybody would order rice and just kill their appetite.
Yeah.
We have done it in the past. Just from a business point of view, it just doesn't work,
Yeah,
quite frankly.
yeah.
The other thing about rice as well is there's so many variations. You've got risottos, you've got paellas, you've got pilaf, and, you know,
I could eat
there's
a
so many
paella
different things you could do.
every day of my life, but
Yeah.
like a whole one. Like I have no, like I could,
I know,
right.
it's
And we
amazing.
talk about this. We have spent hundreds of hours of our friendship talking about this exact conundrum, and I never deviate. It's always rice.
Yeah, rice guy, 100%.
Nice, nice. Yeah.
You?
Pasta.
Right.
Pasta through and through.
Well, guys, this has been, first and foremost, we just want to say thank you.
Oh,
Obviously,
thank you guys.
were
Thanks for having us.
my first love. One, but we were just
Aw.
saying that like there are like 3 restaurants I think about regularly, and you guys are one of them. And so
Oh, that's
it's
amazing.
just, you
Thank
know,
so much.
thank you so much.
Thank
It's
you.
been an absolute pleasure. Thanks
Thank
again
you.
for
This has
having
been
us.
wonderful.
Yeah, this has been amazing.
We really appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And all the best for this podcast. Looking
Thank
forward to,
you.
looking forward to hearing the future episodes.
What a great way to start our podcast, man.
Absolutely.
A huge thanks to them for sharing their story. I'm grateful for their time. And again, for being our guinea pigs.
Such an incredible story. I love the way that they're just making it work, and their success could not happen to better people.
Couldn't agree more.
I'm surprised that it took us almost a year of my living here for us to actually go together.
I think that's true. When you told me that we had never been to Mirin together, I was like, what?
Yeah. We actually had a fight about it.
Well, I'm glad that we remedied that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm glad that we remedied that.
Absolutely.
But listeners, don't make that mistake. If you're in town or you're passing through town, you know, mirin.uk, check it out. Make a reservation. So from noodles to something maybe a little more traditionally Scottish.
Yeah. Next up, we're going to dive into the world of whiskey with Colin Hines of the Tipsy Midgie. Another incredible story.
Yeah, totally a man, a myth, a legend, and a storyteller. What a great storyteller.
What an incredible storyteller.
Yeah,
And listeners, as a little treat, we've released both Mirin and the Tipsy Midgie episodes on the same day. So you can go right now and listen to the Tipsy Midgie episode for all your podcasting binging needs.
100%.
Just pick it up and continue. You're welcome.
Yeah. And while you're continuing, make sure you hit the subscribe button on whatever podcast provider you are listening to us on, and that you also follow us on Instagram at Eating and Waiting to Eat. Hit us up on Instagram as well. Questions, comments, concerns. We'd love to hear from you. And until next time, but I think next time can be right now.
Right now.